Voices amongst the static. A glitch in the simulation. A broadcast with no origin. You have found the Phenomenauts Podcast. Hello, you molecular medley of organic components. You've tuned into the Phenomenauts, a bi-monthly podcast where we look at the weird, wonderful, and mysterious happenstances of this and occasionally other universes. Your hosts on this wild ride are myself, D, the amazing Amber Hall,
Bon howdy,
and our new host, Oscar Boardman.
Hoi hoi.
Don't forget, we're everywhere, in the walls, basement, under the bed, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and Transistor, so please do give us a like, follow, share, comment, download, whatever's easiest for you. We just love hearing from you fine folks. And if you want to hear more of our lovely voices, you can find our other podcast, The Trialogue, where the three of us talk about, well, everything from big questions like, what would you ask God? And is milk bone soup? And you can find all that in the same places as you would find this, apart from YouTube. So, admin and shameless self-plugs out of the way, how is everyone on this fine day?
It's hot. It's so hot. I'm not okay.
It is warm. It is quite the warm.
So, apart from that, doing alright,
That's good to hear.
Yeah, life, it just keeps ticking on. Don't look too closely at what's going on in the world because you'll want to die, so.
Yeah, that's the mistake I made.
Apart from that, the video games are good.
Oh yeah.
Well, how are you, Oscar?
Everything Amber has just described, except I've had 2 cups of coffee this morning, so I am as sharp as a razor's edge.
Excellent. Okay, shall I get us started by spinning the wheel of speak?
The wheel of speak? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. Amber, it appears you are first this week. What have you brought for us?
Well, first off, what I brought for you was that neat little intro at the start that my friend passed on to me, Bon howdy. It means good howdy in French. So, not only that, you can take that one home with you. That's free. Right. Let me just set some groundwork here. So roughly, and I want you to take this with a grain of salt, because this is a broad generalization. The left hemisphere of your brain is the more academic side. You might have heard this in places. And it's the sort of logical side of the brain. That's on the left. Your right hemisphere is sort of more artistic and creative. So, that I feel like some people may have heard this, but take it with a grain of salt. It's not 100% accurate. So yeah, keep a mental note of that, as it's going to be important as I go on. So very basically, left, logic, right, creative. With that in mind, this week I have read into a study about lies. The study itself is truthful, but the truths are about lies. True lies. You see what I did there? Lies have, very broadly, 2 components, at least in the eyes of researchers. Emotion-inducing capacity and sort of criticality. By that, I mean a lie can often be told to critically withhold information, like for a purpose. In that way, it's a logical consideration. Well, if I tell them this, then, that would contradict the other thing that I said. And the emotion-inducing capacity of a lie is perhaps the guilt from, like the negative feelings about not being truthful, perhaps harming someone by withholding information from them. The prefrontal cortex section of the brain has been implicated in lying. And as telling the truth is sort of your natural state, you would assume that the lower activity in this brain region would correspond to a direct flow of truthful information out of your mouth. you'd sort of forget to lie, right? Lying is something that we have to remember to do, right? Anyway, in this 2011 study that I've been reading into by Carton and Bachman, utilized transcranial magnetic stimulation to alter the function of the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that's sort of associated with lying. Just as an aside, do you remember transcranial magnetic stimulation from a previous episode?
Yeah, that's the thing where you can disconnect parts of the brain, right?
Yeah, you can. So they are thinking it could be useful in treatment-resistant depression because you find the part of the brain that is causing you to be depressed and you just turn it off using magnets. You kind of just induce activity in brain sections that don't work properly. I was going to
say, I can't remember. Was it just a temporary thing that they switch it off, or is it turned off for good?
No, it's temporary. Right, so this might make you sort of look on it with a little bit of shade, but it's equivalent to a temporary version of electroshock therapy. Electroshock therapy is a permanent sort of rewiring of the brain. This is a temporary rewiring, but it means that I feel like that's sort of better. And the fact that they're looking at it with a little bit less, they're not aiming it at gay people and stuff like that. They are trying to aim it at things like depression and things like that. So that's good. But I remember we spoke about
than it was in the past.
Yeah, I mean, even if you go, oh well, you put the magnetic thing on my head, and all of a sudden I didn't feel good, and I feel like you changed who I was, but then it reverted back in a month, and now I've decided not to do it again, is better than just getting shocked through the brain and then just being permanently sort of lobotomized.
Yep.
But yeah, it was a technique, when we spoke about it, it was a technique that was used to induce anxiety in subjects, I think it was. I can't quite remember.
Oh, is this the sleep paralysis study?
So I think... I don't think it was about the sleep paralysis study, because they can't make you have sleep paralysis, but I think it was they were able to measure that people were a bit more agitated.
Oh, was it the Shadow Man?
Well, that was a similar episode. That one was with a subdermal electrode where they managed to basically create a shadow person in the room with this woman.
Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of.
Oh man, it's so haunting. But it was an actual scientific study where they went, hang on, what's going on? Just tweak this little dial. And she was like, oh, there's a shadow person behind me. And then when you turn the dial back down, she's like, oh, he's gone. It's absolutely wild. Anyway, the episode when we talked about transcranial magnetic stimulation, so magnetism from outside your brain that's affecting your brain. I think I was talking about how magnetic fields, like if there was strong magnetic fields at a haunted house, it could possibly alter your brain function and cause you to feel anxious, agitated, and maybe even hallucinate. So it was kind of like an answer to why are the haunted locations? It could just be a very powerful magnetic field that is... Go on.
Apologies. I was just going to say we've used that to explain multiple sort of instances of paranormal stuff that we've talked about in earlier episodes.
Yeah. Well, it's the fact that there's scientific evidence behind it. So, it's a
very plausible explanation for certain phenomena.
Plausible. That's the best word for it, yeah. Anyway, in this study that I'm talking about, the subjects were shown objects of different colours, and they were asked to tell the truth about the colours of the objects or lie about the colour of the objects at their discretion. Just, you can lie, you can tell the truth, it's up to you. So they were just asked to randomly tell the truth or lie under their own free will. In this study, they showed that when the subjects are allowed to name the colour of presented objects correctly or incorrectly at their free will, their tendency to stick to truthful answers could be manipulated by transcranial magnetic stimulation of the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. If they used artificial inhibition of activity in that brain region, in the right hemisphere, the more creative side, they decreased the amount of times that they were lying. They were more likely to tell the truth, whereas artificial inhibition of activity in the left hemisphere increased lying. So, if your default state is telling the truth, then surely inhibiting the critical left side would leave only the guilt-ridden right hemisphere, right? But they saw the opposite effect. Inhibition of the logic side increased lying, while inhibition of the right side increased truth-telling. So what to heck is going on? The researchers posit that in the case of the right side of the prefrontal cortex, the activity is actually a behavioral control. If the behavioral control activity is turned off, we lie. So it turns out that impulsive lying is actually the easier thing to do, and the negative feelings associated with lying and all the feelings of anxiety and guilt that go along with that are effectively a form of self-control. It's something that we learn as we sort of grow up, and it's part of our self-control. And this is what guilt and shame and similar feelings are for. They're learned for the good of you and those close to you. Being honest isn't enough. You need a deterrent to doing those things again in the future. So, you know, if you've done something and then you want to lie about it afterwards, isn't it better to deter you from doing the thing that you would want to lie about in the first place? So if you think about stealing your friend's ice cold bottle of Chocomel, the best way your brain has to stop you is to just make you think for a second and feel the shame of having that thought. They're your friend. You can't steal their Chocomel. And consider the guilt you'll feel afterwards. This Chocomel is soured by my transgressions. So I'm going to take a second to, grab all this information that I've given you, okay? You want to just put it all into a ball, scrunch it up into a ball, and you want to throw it up in the air. Keep your eyes on it. Keep your eyes on the interesting information about the brain, lying, and free will. Where's it going to land? Watch it. Hiya! Trivia time. Bet you didn't expect that one right in your gut while you were looking up. Okay, language is primarily localized in the left hemisphere. So things like grammar, vocabulary, and understanding literal meaning are typically housed in the left hemisphere. For right-handed people, at least, around 90% of righties have language localized in their left hemisphere, whereas for lefties, it spans across both hemispheres, or is even sometimes localized to the right hemisphere in 50% of individuals. Makes sense, right? Whichever hand you write with is going to be involved in language. If you write with your left hand, which is controlled by right brain, it kind of makes more sense to house language there, right? So with that in mind, I think it would be interesting to see a similar study than the one I've just explained, including more left-handed people, to see if maybe that influences things. Because if they're being asked to lie, like speak a lie or write down a lie, then maybe having the area to process that message in a hemisphere that's more involved in feelings like guilt and less logic or sort of weighing up of options, maybe their likelihood of lying under similar conditions would be different than people who are right-handed. Just a thought. I don't think that study's been done, so an idea for any of you aspiring researchers out there. Okay, so in terms of the study, what we have is an example of subjects being unaware that their free will is being manipulated subconsciously. I mean, sure, your free will can be controlled by the smell of a delicious pie, or a glistening glass of Vimto, with ice cubes in, of course. I think we're all aware of things that can twist your arm when it comes to making decisions. That's why it's actually quite good advice to never go food shopping when you're hungry, because you're more likely to pick quick and easy things, or impulse buy a chocolate bar just before the checkout. Just as an aside as well, is there a single word for telling the truth? Like, there's a single word for telling a lie, it's lie. Like, you can lie, but you can't truth, can you? Is there a single word for...
Yeah, I think that, like, saying a truth is a thing.
Yeah, but he's lying. Someone doesn't say something and you go, he's truthing.
No, you say he's telling the truth.
Yeah, is there not a single word for telling the truth? 'Cause
honesty?
He's honesting us. You get what I mean?
He's honest. He's being honest.
He's going to lie. He's going to...
The act.
Truth.
I think you can use truth like that, though. I think I have seen it or heard it used like that.
Yeah, like, let me truth you.
Let me lay down some truths.
Truth. Yeah. Yeah, I just find it weird, like, sometimes you know, apparently lying is more common because we've come up with a better word for it than truth. Anyway, but as we know, it's our natural state. Anyway, let's get less academic now, because I know some people might just be listening going, oh, right hemisphere, prefrontal cortex. Oh. Anyway, let's get less academic, and let's have a good old reckon. Let us enjoy the majesty of my uninformed ad hoc reckon. Free will, right? If you coerce someone into doing an action, it's not free will, right? I'm sure we can agree on that. If you manipulate someone, it's not free will. They might do something, it's not their free will. What if they live in an environment where certain options are unavailable? Right? I would like to go jet skiing, but I can't. I want to go jet skiing, but I can't. I don't have the money to go where it is that I can do it. Oh my God, so I'm trapped now. This is kind of the truth of every situation ever. There are things that you might want to do, but you can't. You know, I want to, play on the kids' swing, but I've grown up now, and I'm too heavy and it will snap. So I'm now forever just deprived of my free will to play on that swing. So what if we create a situation where more things are possible? I feel like if we, as the human race, decided to do that, we'd be pushing the boundaries of what was possible. And now people who want to go beyond that boundary can't do that. So, like, we could push the boundary and go, you can do anything now. And then someone goes, can I go into space without a spacesuit? And they go, oh, well, no, you can't do that. And they go, well, that's what I want to do, but I can't. I don't have free will to do what I want to do. So, do they have free will? There's always going to be restrictions placed on this, right? But in terms of what is possible, right?
How do we... Sorry, just a quick one. What's the definition of free will? Because... like, what was the line between, free will as in you have the freedom to be willing to do that. You may not have the
ability.
The ability or the chance. Like, what was the distinction?
Yeah, I suppose, like,
because, like, if, like, going into space is one I think of, like, because I grant that you can, buy a ticket to space now and things, but we can't go up right now.
Yeah.
Like, so that makes me think it's like, well, you may have the free will to do the thing, but you may not have the opportunity to actually act on that will.
So is it whether the opportunity is there, but you're just not allowed to get at it? Like, I can't go up in space and dance around on the moon, but I can do in a field behind my house. But if you put bars on my windows and lock me in, wouldn't you say that I'm not free now? Because
oh yeah,
But I could go and dance on the moon, but they won't let me. They'll go, oh, well, you have to train you, and all the money, and I'm like, yeah, well, okay, so you've put rules in place that don't allow me to dance on the moon. If you really wanted me to be up there dancing on the moon, then I would be up there doing it right now, but they won't, because why would they? But that means that they're depriving me of options, of like possibilities. So it's that kind of stuff that I mean, and I feel like, yeah, possibly it is difficult to define what is free will. Because freedom and free will are not necessarily the same thing. If I play a video game...
I can give you the definition when you put free will into Google, if you'd like.
Yeah, go on.
Free will is the ability to choose between different Possible courses of action unimpeded.
Possible. Got ya.
So I guess maybe you could say it's determined by what your possibilities are, or the parameters for what is possible, because it's like, it's possible to get you to the moon. Like, it is a possibility, yeah.
So in that way, it's like I'm in a cage. It's a really big cage. It's almost indistinguishable from being outside, but I'm still in there. So, let's think of this world where more possibilities have been liberated for people to do, like we have today. I can go on the computer, I can go on the internet, I can go and walk outside. I'm not going to be eaten by wolves. And this took people sacrificing their freedom to build this world with more opportunities. I'm free. Here in England, today at least, I have the privilege of freedom, and we all do. But the situation I'm in was built by people who, I assume, probably wanted to be doing something else, like laying around, eating some tasty food, maybe a little choke and stroke. I don't know. I don't want to be working a management job or cleaning toilets personally, but those things need to be done or things get messy. If everybody truly did whatever they wanted to do with no concerns, that privilege would not last very long as society collapsed, and then people would be sort of forced against their will to get to work and fix the thing. But I suppose, yeah, maybe we are talking about freedom there. So let's get more internal then. So, right, we can agree. Being manipulated equals not free will. If you've been coerced, it's not your free will. But I would argue the healthiest relationship is just a consensual, mutual manipulation. Like, I know for a fact people have said they love their partner because that partner challenges them to grow. Is that not just consensual manipulation? I mean, Dee, haven't you previously described therapy as consensual manipulation before or something along those lines?
I don't remember ever saying this, but it...
Where you you go to a therapist because you go, please manipulate me to be healthy.
I mean, regardless of whether I said it or didn't, because I genuinely don't remember, I will say I do agree with that statement in the sense of what you're doing is you are saying, right, I think the difference is, though, is you can use the word manipulate or you could use the word teach.
Yeah.
Because as a concept, they're oddly interchangeable despite being separate things.
Guide. I guess the difference is manipulation is against your will. Whereas
I was going to say it depends if you're putting the malice on it. It's like if we're going for manipulation, that does imply a malice. Whereas if you're going for an education, so say I was to make if I did make that statement, say I was to make it again now, I'd say, well, you go to therapy because you want them to teach you a better way of doing things.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I didn't say it. I don't just have no memory of saying the thing, but yeah.
Well, I seem to remember it, but no, I think you're quite right there. Teaching is, or guiding someone is somebody comes for help and then you guide them. You help change them because they are trying to reach
I think
something.
you could say the same with the statement on, I like being in this relationship because it challenges me, because I think that's you admitting in some way you don't like the way you are.
Or you
an want intent to be challenged.
Yeah, an intent to change.
By acknowledging it, like, don't get me wrong, there are always, situations, but normally you have in a good, healthy relationship, you would choose to be in that scenario where you're not choosing to let them manipulate you, you're choosing to let them educate you. Now, don't get me wrong, if they're corrupt as fuck and do something awful, then it's manipulation. If they're doing it just for their own means, then it's manipulation. But I guess if you go in there and go, I like this partner because they challenge me, and for whatever reason that you're aware your views are bad or your reactions are bad, or maybe some of your behaviors are bad, and you're grateful for that, Yeah. And I think obviously only speaking of a good healthy relationship here, I think in that situation again, I don't know if that's manipulation. I think that's education, because I think that's the difference. I think you highlighted it really well there. Is you could probably call educating someone manipulating them, but it's manipulation, I guess, done with consent.
Yeah, and
because it's guiding them, and at that point, I don't know if we would still use the word manipulation, because again, I think manipulation only ever implies I think with the word manipulation can only ever really imply the negative connotations, because I don't think it has many positive connotations. Because if you're going for manipulation with a positive connotation, you would say guiding or educating.
Right. No, that's
my stance, I guess.
Yeah. I would agree with that. You know what? It kind of tweaks up some of the notes that I've taken here. I've already learned something, but I'm going to go through with them anyway. So let's say someone pushes me to be more healthy, right? So go to the gym. The feeling I get when I can't be bothered and I just want to stay in bed, that's kind of my free will, right? I want to stay in bed. I have the option to go to the gym, but I'm going to stay in bed. I've chosen that now, right? Or is the fact that my choice to want to override those feelings, to get someone to force me to go to the gym, that's my free will, because despite the way that I am, I have decided that I've chosen freely that I want to be at the gym, no matter how much I don't want to be at the gym, right? If you get what I mean.
But how much of that decision was informed by determinism?
Yeah, and you got to think about like the chemical structure of your brain as well. I'm trying to overcome the fact that I don't have serotonin.
I was going to say that was the next thing I was going to mention, is that yes, we can. It is free will to make certain choices, but if that is the result of, say, depression or anxiety or, a phobia, then I do think that to a degree, while you do still have the choice, that has affected the choice. And I'm not saying it's not still then a choice, but it has been affected. It's not simply a choice, it's a choice between you and your demons.
Yeah. I mean, I just find it weird the way that I kind of do view it is like, oh no, I've got a lack of my friendly, manipulative serotonin molecules. Oh god, they get me up and out of bed, but I don't have any, so I'm just going to lie here. In fact, when you get into a sleeping routine, and it's hard for you, it's hard at first, trying to keep a sleeping routine, but your body acclimatizes after a while. And then you go to bed, say, late on Saturday night, hoping for a lie-in on Monday. Like, it's all right, I'll just have a lie-in. But come Sunday morning, you're up at 6 a.m. and you just can't get back to sleep because your body clock has been changed. Your choice to sleep has been taken away by the chemicals in your brain. It's all good when you wanted to get up early. It was just as not free will then as it is now. But because it's not in line with your chosen actions, the illusion of true free will is shattered.
It's proper getting me that you've just brought that up, because that is a phenomenon I'm currently experiencing. Because I'm just trying to, over the last few months, been getting into just tweaking my routine a little bit, basically.
Yeah.
And part of that is I get up about 9 every day. And I noticed, when I'm having days off, and I'll go to bed whenever I want, while I am lucky enough to quite often be able to fall back asleep, not every time, but I appreciate that not everyone can do that, I will wake up every day somewhere around 9, often quite near the hour.
That's it? Your body just does it?
Well, thankfully I can just go back to sleep.
Right.
A lot of so a thing for me, and again, I don't know how much this is a thing for other people, is for as long as I am in bed and have just woken up from sleep, I can sleep more.
Right.
If I get that's why it's an imperative for me. I never really go back. If I have to be up, I get up. I'm quite good for that. But I normally if I know I want to get up and do stuff that day and I want to be slow about it, my alarm goes off and I will throw myself out of bed no matter how dazed I am, because I know that's the quickest way to get up.
Yeah.
I don't particularly enjoy it, but I often go, well, I can handle this little bit of not enjoying it for the fact that it will benefit me in the long run.
So, I mean, just thinking about that, the definition of free will is choosing from the available possibilities freely. But the thing, when you wake up, because you've got a sleep routine now, you don't control that you've woken up and that you can't get back to sleep. But it was your previous choices that made it so that you are waking up now. So you have created the situation that you are now unhappily stuck in. So in that way, I'm kind of like, where do you draw the line? Because I've woken up, so now the situation is I'm awake, it's 6 a.m, I'm tired, I want to go back to sleep, but I can't. And in that way, you could go, well, it's just not possible for you to go back to sleep, so you can still choose freely about what you're going to do with the day. But the fact that you're up right now is because you made decisions in the past. So you are now in a situation you'd rather not be in because of choices that you've made, and now you don't have possibilities.
You've unwittingly made your decision beforehand.
Yeah, I've dropped myself in a cage by accident. So, I mean, you could say that a complete lack of serotonin would prevent you from doing anything that requires motivation. So you don't have a free will because you don't have the neurotransmitters to make anything happen. You're just lying there, your brain in chains. Now, let's say that you have too much serotonin. You've popped some MDMA, and now there's way too much serotonin. Now you can't stop moving. You're bouncing. Your teeth are grinding. You can't choose to go to bed now or stop grinding your teeth because your beloved serotonin will not allow you to. Your brain.
I really like that there were
in chains.
There were so many reasons you could have too much serotonin, and that's the one you chose.
This is a good example, I think. Let's say you accidentally forget that you've taken your antidepressants and you take them again. There we go. Better example.
Well, manic behavior.
Yeah, basically. You would love to just sit down and go, oh, well, I just need to calm down, but you can't because your serotonin won't allow you to. But with lack of it, you can't even get up and do anything. So the situation you're in is based on the chemicals in your brain. I can't choose to have more chemicals in there, but I can choose to forge through and do activities that will give me more serotonin, more energy, and go and eat healthily, go to the gym, go to the doctor and ask for antidepressants. And then I will be in a situation where I have more options to do things, more free will, if you will. But make sure that you don't get the wrong antidepressant, so you'll have too much free will and you'll be manic. You will have lost your free will to chill the hell out and you'll just be doing stuff.
Or you just get born a certain way and you're stuck like that anyway.
Yeah. Your brain in chains. Bottom line, I'm trying to get at this, right? The very mechanism in your brain that allows you to make decisions have their own purposes. Well, usually it's survival, really, and under other associated things, you know, happiness, comfort, warmth, etc. Things that go hand in hand with survival. Just because those things align with your choices does not mean they don't compel you to do those things. The illusion of free will is so deeply ingrained in living, it's easy to forget you're a haunted skeleton piloting a flesh suit.
I was not prepared for that at all.
The thing is, none of this matters because it's going to make no difference to your daily life. I just like to talk about it. And I thought that study was cool. You can make people lie. You can make people tell the truth. Forget your truth serum. Just stick this transcranial magnetic stimulation on their head. And just microwave their head. Just boil their head and get them to tell the truth.
Question, I need to check something I may have misquathed.
Quaffed.
Because you will likely know the answer to this because you're a science person, right?
Okay.
I actually don't know. Like, is dopamine serotonin?
No, they're two different. They're both reward molecules.
Right, I've checked myself. I don't think a manic episode is caused by too much serotonin.
I think it can be.
I think it very likely can be, but I can't. Just from skim reading, I don't know if I was right in saying that. So, despite being someone who has manic episodes, I don't want to put false science out there.
Well, you know, they call bipolar manic depression, and depression's usually associated with serotonin.
I would say it definitely, a manic episode definitely feels like I have far too much serotonin.
I got a little bit of it when I started my first set of antidepressants. I'd be sat on the tram to work, and my legs are just bouncing, and I'm like looking out the window, and I'm just like, oh, come on, let's go. Oh, when are we going to get there? Just like a little bit like hyper, just because all of a sudden there was serotonin where there was not before.
But yeah, it was just I just didn't want to put a false fact out there.
I feel like we should
checking.
We should make a rock band, and our debut album will be called Brain in Chains.
Don't worry, I've written it down for an episode title.
Nice.
Right, is that you done, Amber?
I am done. Sorry, it took over half an hour.
Yeah, no worries. Right, I'm going to spin that wheel.
Spin it.
It's spinning. It's Oscar.
It's me.
It is.
Oh, excellent. So I'd like to start my topic with just a general discussion about how great Earth is as a planet.
You know what? Yeah.
It's got music, it's got cats, it's got Danny DeVito. I mean,
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves. It's a pretty great place, right? I think we can agree that there's some nice things we like about Earth.
You know, I'll give it you.
Mm-hmm. It's also the only planet we can currently find human life. So that's starting to realize that maybe we've got all our eggs in one basket here. We're very vulnerable. If you know, one mass extinction event happens, we're kind of all gone as a collective race. I mean, if it's a giant meteor, Yellowstone Park erupting, killer virus, or maybe it's something of our own design, you know, global warming, rogue AIs, we're really risking it all by being on Earth right now, all of us at once. So I guess we should probably have a plan B, right? Just in case anything goes wrong. So I'd like to discuss with you today, how are we going to get to Mars?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The reason I've selected Mars at the moment is because it's the closest to Earth-like planet in the solar system, and with our current level of spacefaring technology, we probably won't be going over to the next solar system anytime soon. So I'm just thinking temporary fix, set up Site B. We'll put our eggs in 2 different baskets, and then just in case anything happens, we bring back dinosaurs, they take over. At least we've got backup Mars.
Yeah.
I just heard the chances of anything coming from Mars were 1,000,000 to 1, they say.
The good thing as well is it's one of our solar neighbours. It's right next to us. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. Just right there. Sort of
Idly ho, solar neighbourino.
Just right there, millions of kilometres away.
So I've decided I'm going to send you 2 ahead to hold down the fort.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, you 2, congratulations. You've been enlisted into my new space agency. It's called the Phenomenauts Aeronautics Space and Time Administration. That's shorter version of that is PASTA. So, welcome to PASTA.
I was literally sat there trying to figure out what the abbreviation was.
Oh.
Well, I've thrown in an extra letter there. We've got time in the title because I think, you know what, if we're going to be exploring space, we might as well tag time on there.
Yeah, why the fuck not?
An extra.
Oh god, I keep swearing.
So, I mean, I guess the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get you 2 trained up to be astro-phenomenauts.
No, wrong. That's blocking my free will. I want to dance on Mars now. You've put the idea in my head. No training.
Oh, well,
Can't believe you're going to strand me on Mars with Amber. That's like babysitting for the rest of my life.
Mm.
Do you know how much stupid stuff she's going to try and do? I don't want to be sat there asleep one night and Amber's just trying to beat her way out the airlock.
I was just going to say, Incredibles 2, where Jack's just like an absolute handful.
Oh dear. So I've decided it's going to be a team of 3. It's going to be you 2 and whoever's listening right now. Congratulations, you've been enlisted.
Welcome, yeah.
Don't touch my shit.
So, step 1, training. So I had a look at one of our rival space agencies. You may have heard them. They're called NASA. And
not as cool as pasta.
Not as cool as pasta. I mean, we do time. It's going to take about 2 years to get you through basic astronaut training. So, 2 years, we're going to have to do that first before we send you up, just to get you to grips. So this is going to entail medical tests, physical training, extravehicular activity training, EVA.
Quick question.
Mm?
Do I get paid can I work from home?
You can't work from home with this job, I'm afraid. The reward is the knowing that humanity will be safe whenever we accidentally unleash Broly.
Oh, I'm more than down for a trip to Mars. It sounds very cool, like an experience I won't miss. Just with lockdown at the minute, traveling's a bit hard. I think I should work from home just to be safe.
No, it's okay. It's all expenses paid. Holiday to Mars.
It's great. I mean, essentially you're already in Mars training right now. You're staying inside of enclosed areas. You're doing what you can. You're putting on a mask every time you go outside. That's pretty good practice. You don't want to go into space. Yeah. So don't worry. This is partially why I've
hadn't quite realised that comparison was a thing.
See, first it's face mask, then it's gas mask, and then the spacesuit. Then you're set.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, though, everyone wear a mask.
I know I do.
As well as I do. Right, so you're also going to have to get some anti-grav training done, because you need to be able to adjust a bit, be able to adjust more to the fact that you're going to be weightless for a while.
Okay.
So that's an important part of the training. And also, if you want to do any experiments, whether it be on the way to Mars or when you get there, you need to work out what you need beforehand. You don't want to get there and realise, I needed a measuring stick and I left it at home on Earth.
My experience in higher education, I don't think I should be on the team anymore.
I, on the other hand, would probably do quite well.
Well, if you're not sure what you're going to be researching, I've got a couple of ideas what we're going to do. Amber, you can do the experiences of cats in space.
Oh, okay, I'm back on the team.
My task is equally as cool.
What are you going to do, D?
I don't know. You were assigning the tasks.
Well, to be honest, I was just going to throw the cats in the moment somebody tried to back out. So you can also have a cat, but you can do the effects of cats being able to code in space.
Is this like a monkey typewriter scenario?
Yes.
Right, got you.
It's a long way to Mars. We could be writing some great stories.
This is it's all for the future science. What can we do with it? And also on the side, the fact that when the Earth blows up, you'll be fine. You'll have saved humanity
and given birth to a species of coding cats.
Let's see. You've done all your training. Congratulations. You've graduated. Top of your class. It was just the two of you and the listener. Good job. Welcome to Pasta. Right. Next step. When are we gonna launch? When are we gonna launch to Mars? So just to give you an idea in your head, Mars is about 1.5 astronomical units from the sun. An astronomical unit is a measurement of just the distance between Earth and the sun. One is us, essentially. So Mars is 1.5 times further.
Okay.
And an astronomical unit roughly equates to 150 million kilometers. So it's a big jump.
Okay.
So Mars in numbers you might more understand 225 million kilometers away from the sun at any given moment.
Wow.
I mean, it varies, but that's sort of what we go off for now.
How many Oscars is that?
Well, I actually did work that out for a later point.
I'm so pleased you figured that out.
Notes.
Oh, I'm sorry for spoiling it. I should have trusted you.
So, let's see. 225. 32. Okay, so Oscar units will come up later. Unfortunately, I haven't currently worked it out. But if you'd like to work it out while I'm currently going through this, I'll
just
happily
say,
give you the units.
I love that, Oscar. Obviously, you know your height, but we've got at least I have got a record of your height so that we can perpetuate this bit.
It's a very handy, unique unit of measurement. I implore that everyone should use. An Oscar is 1.75 meters high.
Oh, perfect.
Keep it in mind. So just to give you those numbers again, Amber, 150 million kilometers between us and the sun.
Wow.
And 225 million between Mars and the sun. So if you think about that at first glance, you think, okay, so there's only half an astronomical unit between us and Mars.
Sure.
Well, you'd be wrong. You'd be absolutely wrong.
Oh.
Because Mars is also going around the sun at a different speed over a longer track.
Oh, heck.
So, yeah, it takes Mars 687 days to get around the sun. So, quick aside, how old are you on Mars? Well, I've worked it out for you two. D, you are 11.85 Martian years old.
Wow.
So you're still in the prime of your Martian childhood. I know that's not how it works, but just roll with it.
Yeah, thank you for doing that, maths.
Amber,
Yeah.
you are 14.2. So, woohoo!
There we go.
God damn it, even on another planet you're older than me.
I feel like 14. That explains a lot.
And I feel like 40.
We've not yet established laws such as drinking and driving and, those kind of things on Mars yet, so...
Just a question. I'm pretty angry at the UK government. Am I going to be mad at the Martian government too?
Well, technically, Mars can't be governed by any one country because it's in space. So, it's the collective humanities government.
Okay.
So hopefully... As a whole,
It's going to be even worse. The bureaucracy.
Well, I'll because I'm currently still back at home. I'm on Earth, just getting you there first. It's my job to get you there, so I can later then come to Mars. But without all of the hassle.
Are you
Don't worry about that.
Liaison Officer Oscar, short for Lou?
We'll get you to Mars first. That's our main concern right now. So, yeah, Mars is also travelling around the sun at a different speed. It complicates things a little. So, if you were to launch at the wrong time, the worst time, let's say, you're going to launch, I'm going to launch both of you up in the rocket. It's the worst time to possibly do it, but I'm just doing it for science. Goodbye. It's going to take you... you're going to have to travel 400 million kilometres. And that is only if you take a shortcut through the sun.
Oh, no.
So, through the centre of the sun. So how about we won't do that? Well, I've rethought it. I've said, you know what? Just 5 seconds before launch, I'm not going to hit the big red button. Come on out of the rocket. We'll wait a couple of months. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, you come on out and I say, right, okay, so the ideal launch window for getting to Mars takes place roughly every 1.6 to 2 years. It's kind of awkward because when you think about us going around the sun and Mars, neither of us are a perfect circle. We're both sort of egg-shaped ovals. There's a fancy word for it.
An ellipsoid.
That's it. That's the word. So it makes things a bit more awkward when you have to take into account we're moving, Mars is moving. We're not doing perfect circles. The sun's in the middle sometimes. Don't worry, I've done all the maths. You just relax until I tell you it's time to get on the rocket.
Promise you won't send us through the sun.
I promise. So, next calculation I've done is we're going to wait until Mars is as close as possible and launch you right at Mars. Sound
Meet
good?
me at Mars.
Yeah.
I'm down.
So at this point, there's only 56 million kilometres, or, here's where it comes in, 32 billion Oscars between Earth and the Mars.
Hooray!
Beautiful. So if you can just imagine 32 billion me's on each other's shoulders, reaching into space. I feel bad for the ones in the middle. We've made it to Mars, and we're gonna use them to guide your rocket straight at Mars. Well, the problem there is if we do that, then by the time you get to where Mars was, Mars has moved. So, it's not 52 kilometers. We can't do that, I'm afraid. And there's also angle trajectory. We can't aim you right at Mars. You sort of have to come in at an angle. Otherwise, you'll burn up in the atmosphere.
Oh dear. Also, I'm just thinking of all the Oscars all just holding on to each other. And then they grab hold of Mars, but Mars is trying to move and Earth's trying to move. And the Oscars just red in the face, hold on for dear life. And just both planets go twirling off into deep space.
It's a sacrifice they're willing to make. Or I'm willing to make for them because I'm the Prime and I call rank.
I'm willing to imagine that risk upon them.
So, quite a distance. So, we're going to have to really think about how we're going to get you to Mars in the best way. Something we've also got to take into account is fuel consumption, because we can get you to Mars faster, but we really need to think about how much fuel is going to weigh and how much we're going to use. So, according to Professor Craig Patton of the University of California in San Diego, the best route we can do, the best thing we can do, is we'll send you on an elliptical route before we've lined up with Mars. And essentially, you're going to form a larger circle that connects Mars when it's at the point you want to land, and Earth when you take off. So that's a lot to take into account, because we need to know where we need to be, and also where Mars is going to be in the time that it'll take you to get there.
Right.
But this is, in theory, the best way we can do it. So you're sort of going to go on a circular, curved path, sort of come alongside Mars, and we're going to get you in that way. Sound good?
Yeah, sure. I trust you, Oscar.
Okay, good.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I trust Oscar with my life.
Well, okay, so that's going to take you 9 months. 9 months to get there. So make sure to bring lots of reading material. Well, the thing is, it only takes 9 months, according to Professor Craig Patton, if we want to conserve fuel. But thankfully for you two, it's a one-way trip. We don't need to bring you back.
Wait.
So maybe we can use that fuel to get you there faster, or, you know, maybe just use the weight for something else.
It's a one-way trip.
Yes. Sorry, there's no takesies backsies. I've got you both now on recording saying that you're up for it. Thank you for doing this for humanity.
At least my life would have some meaning.
At least you get the cat, though, right?
Yeah, you do have the cat. You need to make sure that we need to train the cat as well. I forgot about the cat. I don't know how long it takes to train a cat.
Litter tray is going to be a nightmare.
Oh, God.
Oh, dear.
Low gravity zoomies.
We're going to need to. We've set the route. We know how you're getting to Mars now. We've worked out on the charts. Let's say it's a couple of months from now, so we've got other things we can worry about. The next thing we need to worry about is what you're going to have to bring with you. So you're going to need food. You're going to need water. Probably clothes, medical supplies, specialized equipment for all your tests about coding cats and their time on Mars.
I hate myself because when you said specialized equipment, my brain just went ew.
We're also going to have to put on a rocket water and cement. This is for radiation shielding when you get there. But don't worry, well, you'll figure that part out later. The main problem we have to work out now is that water and cement weigh a lot. You can't reduce the amount water weighs. It's a set weight. You can't boil it off because then it's not where you need it to be.
You could just desiccate the water so it's dried, just little pouches of powder, and then we just add water on the other end.
Add water on the other end. Yeah, okay.
Ow. 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 Ow.
So, are you alright there, D? Yeah. You're still with us in this journey for.
Well, I was doing fine, and then Amber just kind of
humanity.
bonked me on the noggin. I'll recover though. Keep going. Just the whole desiccated water thing really got me.
Freeze dried water. Lighter.
Ow! Ow! No, it's happening again.
Every time you say it.
So we've written a list of what supplies you're going to need on your rocket. We've worked out the route you're going to take. There is a small problem we're going to have to work out. So for roughly a crew of 6 people to go to Mars, with all the equipment they're going to need and all this and all that, according to my good friend Craig Patton, you're going to need £3 million of equipment. So that's quite a lot. Our current issue is that a shuttle can only really take off with £50,000 of equipment. So there's a big disparity there, big gap.
I would say, Oscar, I don't understand why the cost of the equipment has anything to do with it.
I'm kind of kicking myself as a scientist here. I should have converted pounds into kilograms. I'm a metric person myself.
I'm a metric man.
Big fan of the metric. So let's say, because that model was for 6 people, so I'm just going to cut it in half because it's just going to be you two and the listener, and the cat counts as the specialised equipment.
Sorry, quick one. If you're going to cut it in half, how do we get ourselves back together on Mars?
Look, that's a you problem when you get there.
Half the equipment.
You're going to need half the stuff, really. So half the food.
Pull out a fork. It's just half a fork. Pull out a spoon. Half a spoon.
We can make sporks.
We're just really cutting down what we're putting in the rocket. So let's say £1.5 million of equipment for the 3 of you. We're going to have to probably launch 30 shuttles to get it all into space.
Wow.
That's and to put that in perspective, I believe in the entirety of our spacefaring history, we've only launched around 90 shuttles into space. So you're going to be doing a third of that just to get all your stuff into space, ready to go.
Wow.
Yeah, so but don't worry about that, because I've thought ahead and we've sent that to Mars ahead of you. Unfortunately, that means we had to send it, 2 years ago? I've done it. Congrats. Surprise.
Thanks.
Happy birthday.
Nice work.
I've thought it all ahead. All of that equipment, we used loads of fuel and rockets. Nobody was looking. We got away with it. It's all already there on Mars. Fantastic. Don't have to worry about it. All you've got to do is get there. So, with all that done, I think you're about ready to get in the rocket.
I feel ready.
So, I've got you both now in the rocket. We've done the big dramatic countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I've pressed the button. No takesies backsies. You're now off of Earth and on your way to Mars. Congratulations. Wow. You're finally going to Mars. So time to sit back and relax, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. 9 months? Wrong. I'm sorry. Wrong. No relaxing. You see, unfortunately, due to the physiological consequences of being weightless for a very long period of time, your muscles have less stuff they need to do, which at first sounds great. I'm going to really relax. The problem is atrophy. Your muscles are going to slowly weaken because your body goes, why do I need all these muscles? I'm quite content with not having muscles in space.
Oh dear.
So yeah, you're gonna have a problem there. Just quick side note: your heart is a muscle.
Oh dear.
And it will pump less because it takes less effort to get blood around your body in space.
Do you have a lower blood pressure in space then?
I'm not sure about the blood pressure.
Oh yeah, no, because I don't know if it would change in how fast it would go.
From what I've heard, the astronauts do have problems with that because all your blood just flows up into your head. Your body's built to pump it up from your feet and up into your head at high pressure. That's why there's valves in your veins and stuff. But if there's no gravity, it's like if you hang someone upside down, their face goes all red and their eyes are like bulging out and stuff. It's like that, but 24/7.
Oh god, that would feel so horrible.
We covered it in your training. I think it was like lesson 1 of anti-grav training. You might not remember it. I think you were passing notes to each other.
That does sound like something me and Amber would do.
Yeah, so that's something you kind of have to keep in mind. So no relaxing, sorry. You're going to have to really try and keep healthy, keep exercising. Another thing you've got to keep in mind, your bones. So because your bones are designed to sort of support your whole meat suit, you will be less, they require less effort to maintain because you're free falling constantly. You're in space. So it stops providing calcium to your bones, your body as a whole, and that means your bones are super brittle. So you're going to really have to keep on top of that.
Bone apple tea. Bone atrophy. Yeah.
So,
I hadn't thought about the fact that it's free falling before. Imagine you go, I've fallen, and then you fall in, and you fall so long, it's just years and years you're just falling for, and your body starts to just go, well, I suppose I don't need those muscle mass anymore. So bizarre.
So it's something that when I was looking into this, it was not my first concern, and by the end of it, it was one of my biggest concerns.
I wish you'd have told me this.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think we covered it in one of the lessons, but
I wasn't paying attention.
Well, you know what? We should have done more quizzes. We'll do that with the next lot. Don't worry. When they get there, they'll tell you what they've learned, and hopefully you'll be able to think about that if you ever go into space again, which you probably won't.
Because it's a one-way trip.
Because it's a one-way trip.
Oscar. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you now. It's not going to be tolerated.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I'm down here and you're up there in space. On your way to Mars.
Tomfoolery of the highest degree.
So you're going to have to really keep on top of exercise. Just to give you a reference here. So you're going to be going to Mars, and it's going to take you around 9 months. We might be able to shave some time off of that, but I don't want to get your hopes up. So let's say 9 months, right? We have been in lockdown since March 23rd, and that's just over 4 months. So do you think you can do what you've just done, but then do it again and a little bit more? And you're not allowed to leave your house, but we'll give you all the food, and you can watch Netflix. But you also have to go to the gym a lot in your house.
No, thank you. I'm good.
Well, that's why you're in the rocket now. I'm telling you now that you're in the rocket. You see that?
Oscar, did you manipulate me into this rocket?
It's for the good of humanity. So
did you manipulate me into this rocket?
Yes. Yes.
Do you recall the point earlier in the show where I said I trust you with my life, or implicitly, or something to that degree?
Mm-hmm.
I no longer trust you with that.
Oh, okay. Well,
if you turn up on Mars, I'm not letting you in.
Look, I'm doing you both a favour. There are more ways that Earth is gonna blow up than Mars. Like, Mars can also get hit by a giant meteor, but we can't accidentally unleash a fungus that will kill everyone on Mars yet.
I was going to say, I think we totally could, just, not right now.
Unless, of course, it's already on Mars.
That's the only amount I can mimic, because, 7 seconds.
Okay, and while you're on your trip to Mars, we'll sort the food for you. The key things to know: you do have an oven, so you can have warm food. You do not have a fridge. You're not allowed a fridge in space. Not allowed.
No space fridges.
Damn, that's cold.
Yeah, mainly because you use fridges to preserve food that you've already opened. You're not allowed to do that. if you open something, you've got to eat it, and then you've got to dispose of it.
No, don't worry, I'm way ahead of you. You got that packet of wine gums? Bam. Whole thing.
What the foods you're allowed to bring with you are many things that can be dehydrated, so you just add water. So I checked, you are allowed pasta. You are allowed various bits of meat if you're so inclined. If not, don't worry, we'll provide you with appropriate alternatives.
Okay.
We'll freeze-dried salad. But essentially anything that can be stored. You're allowed soup. It'll be in pouches.
Can you freeze dry lettuce?
Mm-hmm. It's gonna take some getting used to. But the key thing is you don't have to worry about food. You're safe in your little tube in the vacuum of space where no one can hear you scream.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. We will also provide you, if you want, with salt, pepper, and sugar, but it will all have to be in liquid form. You're not allowed granules in space. That's a big no-no. So you can have peri-peri salt in liquid form.
I feel like I've just been added directly. Thanks, Oscar.
Yeah, it's you sort of have to dissolve it into the water, and then it's a viscous liquid. But then at the very least, it won't get into the systems, or into your eyes.
You know what?
Unless you really try.
If you just give me a computer with League of Legends installed, I don't think I'll need the salt.
Let's see. Okay. Looking at my watch now, congratulations. It's been 9 months, and you finally made it to Mars.
Yeah, high five, D.
Yay.
What a day.
Just a small fact. A day on Mars is 24 hours long and 37 minutes. So that's an extra 37 minutes in your day.
Okay, that's something. That's pretty bomb.
All that extra time.
Oh, I can lie in. Oh!
You get so many things done in 36 minutes.
The local temperature on Mars is minus 63 degrees Celsius. The gravity is 38% of that of Earth's. Please do not eat the soil or breathe in the atmosphere, as they are both toxic. Keep your eye out for global dust storms. There is no protection from solar winds. Thank you for flying with pasta.
Okay.
Oh, if you've got any complaints, you can send us a video message, but keep this in mind. Any data going from Earth to Mars or vice versa will take around 3 to 22 minutes, depending on where you are in orientation to Earth and the Sun. So no phone calls. It's impractical. Video messages, sure. Streaming services, well, you kind of have to download. You can't stream. The internet's going to be really bad for gaming, so keep that in mind. But you know what? You've made it to Mars. I'm on Earth. Don't worry. I just want to say, Amber, I've finally beaten you. I am officially older than you because you're on Mars and you're 14 now.
Ah, damn it! I knew this day would come.
I know. It was the long con.
How are we back on that bit?
Only took 2 years of training plus 9 months plus the time I needed to get the stuff to Mars before you get there. So let's say 4 years, 9 months roughly to get you there. I've got a new job for you, which I'll cover another day. Your job next will be to terraform Mars. But you know what? You've just got to Mars. Why don't you kick your feet up? Hide in your concrete shelter, eat your freeze-dried food, and we will worry about that later.
Goodness gracious me. Oh, it sounds like some of my better holidays. I really, thinking about it as well, even if we went off my actual age, you would technically outage me at some point. If we were immortal, you would outage me because you're deeper in a gravity well on Earth, which means your time is flowing faster than mine.
Oh yeah, it's I've looked at all the angles here. I thought, how can I not only outage Amber, but then also I can glow and you won't be able to have a comeback because you'll have to wait 3 to 22 minutes.
Could I ever outage you two?
Oh, well, not on Mars.
You know, I am baby.
If you stayed on Earth and then I went to Mars, then it could happen eventually.
Interesting.
Oh, I'll give you one final fact about Mars. This is the last one, and then I'm done. Are you ready?
Okay.
So Mars has 2 moons that you may be aware of, Phobos and Deimos. Phobos meaning panic and fear, and Deimos meaning terror and dread. Isn't that lovely?
Quaint.
That's pretty scary.
I'm sure it's like Phobos is just tiny and it's eventually going to, crash into Deimos, or it's going to crash land, or it's going to fly off into space. Something crazy. Like one of those moons not going to be here in like cosmologically quite a short time. One of those moons is just going to be gone.
They are very small, yes. They're, I think, like 22 to 30,000 kilometers across.
Wow.
Like, the both of them, one slightly smaller. They are, like, not really what we think of our moon. But, two's pretty cool.
I think our moon is one of the biggest moons in the solar system. And comparative to the planet, it's quite a large proportion of the size of the planet. I love our moon. Thanks, moon.
Oh, you've got new moons now.
It always makes me laugh when we talk about measurements on the show, because I can picture anything. Like, I've got quite a vivid imagination, but my concept of distance is fucking terrible. Like, anything, like, I can manage a couple of foot. Like, I can tell foot from, like just basing on vision. Like, I've got a good idea of what that is roughly. Any other measurement, not a clue. I just can't, for some reason, when it comes to actual scale measurements, my brain just doesn't, it just goes burr.
Ooh, okay, sorry, I just went and looked it up as well. Phobos gets closer to Mars by about 2 meters every 100 years, and it's predicted that within 30 to 50 million years, it is either going to collide with the planet or break up into a planetary ring.
Ooh, a ring.
Wild.
So in 30 to 50 million years, Mars will have a ring system.
Wild. That's
crazy. I didn't have time to fit it in, but I guess I can tag it on the end here as well. You've got me gushing about Mars now. I've kind of got a crush on this distant planet. Mars is actually very, very slowly getting closer to Earth, and I mean very slowly. In 2002, it was the closest it has ever been to Earth. At around, I think it was 56 million kilometers. And every couple of hundreds of years, it just so happens that because Mars is slowly getting closer, and the two sort of oval-shaped loops, what are they called again, Amber?
The ellipses.
Ellipses. They're also aligning up. So I think around the year 3000, it will have dropped 0.1 of a millionth of a kilometre. 0.1 million kilometres. Isn't that exciting?
10,000 kilometres is that? 1,000 kilometres?
0.1 million, so 100,000.
Wild.
You know what? Fair enough. That's a long way.
100.
That is a bit of a distance, to be fair.
The diameter of Earth's about 12,000 kilometres, so it's pretty good going.
Yeah. If we just wait, it'll just be really easy to get to Mars. You know? If we just wait thousands of years.
Yeah, let's wait.
So
let's wait. You know, there's an interesting fact that popped to mind as well, because you were saying about how it's not just that Mars is this far away from the sun, it's the fact that it could be on the other side of the sun, so it's kind of like its distance to the sun plus our distance to the sun. And a weird fact was, you know what the consistently closest planet, like consistently, like on average, closest neighbour to Earth is? Mercury.
Mercury? Really?
Yeah. If you work out the averages of the distances, Mercury is always in a small range sort of distance from the Earth, because it just very tight, just goes around the sun. Venus because of the speed at which it like the length of its year, quite often it's quite far on the other side. So when added together, it's actually more likely to be on the other side. And then if you do Mars, it's the same. And then if you do Jupiter, it's the same. So the closest neighbor, if you just go off averages, is Mercury.
Huh.
Weird, right?
Pretty cool.
Wild. All right.
Okay. What have you got for us, Steve?
Well, I am going to be continuing the Seven Wonders saga I set myself on last week. And yeah, I'm calling it that because it rhymes and doesn't sound the least bit pretentious at all.
Perfect.
But yeah, continuing this week with the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Although, that's probably erroneous. They were most likely called the Hanging Gardens of Nineveh, but more on that later. So I'm going to, as I like to, start off this segment, I'm going to ask that you shut your eyes and I'll create a nice little mental picture for you both.
Okay.
Oh.
So the Hanging Gardens are often depicted as large, tiered structures, constructed in a stair-like fashion with each step being held up by pillars. Each step a veritable cornucopia of fauna and flora. So you've got this beautiful sort of tiered structure made out of, we're not entirely sure what, but so it's constructed in sort of like a stair-like fashion. You've got greenery kind of coming off each layer. It was supposedly very beautiful. One source actually described it as the desert in bloom.
Wow.
And we can't deny that such a feat, should it have existed, would have had to have been a marvel of engineering. Water would have needed to come from vast distances and then have been forced upwards in an age without conventional plumbing technology. An important point that I feel actually only adds to the sort of the marvel of the story of the Hanging Gardens, if I'm honest, because, we're talking about, like, not to be too dramatic, but it's like an oasis in a desert.
Yeah.
It's this beautiful sort of mass of wildlife in a place that's normally barren. Now, the Hanging Gardens are probably the weirdest of the wonders, in the sense that the Hanging Gardens are the only wonder that we actually don't have a definitive location for. Like, we don't know where they were.
Yeah, I was about to ask, actually.
To make it even weirder, there's no surviving Babylonian texts that mention the gardens, and no definitive archaeological evidence has actually been found in Babylon. So it's like, well, what? Were they real? Were they not? What's going on? Let me give you a bit of some of the histories, I guess. So there was supposedly, this huge, beautiful spectacle, and legend has it that the Neo-Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar II, who ruled between 605 and 562 BC, alongside his great palace, known as the Marvel of Mankind. So, not extra in any way.
You think he's compensating for something?
Yeah. It was thought that this decadent guy actually made it for his wife, Queen Amytis, who missed the green hills and valleys of her home, Media, which was ancient Iran, basically. So, the legend sort of tells it that, he missed, his wife missed her homeland, so he built her this beautiful spectacle. This said, the building of the Hanging Gardens has also been attributed to the mythical queen Semiramis, who supposedly ruled Babylon in the 9th century, which has led to an alternative name for them, possibly being called the Hanging Gardens of Semiramis. So, let me start us off here with a quote from a famous historian, Josephus, who quotes a description given by Berosus, a Babylonian priest whose writings are from around 290 BC. These were the earliest mentions of the gardens, and the priest mentioned Nebuchadnezzar II's reign, and is the only source that actually credits the gardens to him. So in the palace, he erected very high walls supported by stone pillars, and by planting what was called a prehensile paradise and replenishing it with all sorts of trees, he rendered the prospect an exact resemblance of a mountainous country. This he did to gratify his queen because she had been brought up in Media and was fond of a mountainous situation. Which sounds pretty nice, to be honest. I thought it was a very sweet story, if nothing else. Kind of cute. You love someone enough to literally kind of reshape the landscape for them.
Very nice.
So let me give you some thoughts from someone much more qualified than me. A familiar name, Diodorus Siculus. That familiar to either of you two?
It seems to ring a bell.
Yeah, I mentioned him last week when I was talking about the pyramids.
Oh, okay.
So, I imagine I may mention him more in regards to other ancient wonders too. Diodorus, after consulting 4th century BC texts, which were written by prominent historians, he ascribed the construction to a Syrian king. He states the garden was in the shape of a square, with each side approximately 4 plethora long.
Plethora? Huh. How's a plethora a length of measurement?
Well, so that's roughly a plethora. One plethora is roughly 6.8 Oscars.
Okay,
good.
I'm imagining it now. I can see it.
I just love that we've both gone for that bit in an episode. I'm so proud of us. Or 104 cans of your preferred soft drink. And if you really want conventional units of the measurement of 4 plethora, is roughly 1,200 centimetres or 3.937 feet.
Okay.
Gotta stress the roughness, because a plethora isn't an exact unit of measurement, or rather, it's a unit of measurement that's had its definition changed several times.
And now the word plethora just sounds like not a real word now.
Yeah.
Plethora.
So, the garden was tiered, with the uppermost gallery being 50 cubits high, the walls 22 feet thick, made of brick. The bases of the tiered sections were sufficiently deep enough to provide root growth for the largest trees, and the gardens were irrigated from the nearby Euphrates. Sounds like a pretty interesting description, am I right?
Strange, to be sure.
So, Quintus Curtius Rufus, a Roman historian, who likely used the same sources as Diodorus, he stated that the gardens were located on top of a citadel, which was 20 stadia in circumference. He attributes the building of the gardens to a Syrian king, again, for the reason that his queen missed her homeland. Sorry for no fancy maths on that one. I actually couldn't find the measurement for. Oh, yeah, that's it. The stadia was the one where actually it's got several different, what length it could have been. So it's kind of hard for me to calculate anything from it.
I mean, it's, nowadays it's just a video game service.
Is it still a video game service? Didn't it crash and burn?
Google Stadia.
Yeah, I think it crashed and burned.
Probably by the time anyone listens to this, it did.
But yeah. So, the philosopher Strabo states that the gardens were watered by an Archimedes screw leading from the Euphrates River. Now, an Archimedes screw is a screw that's essentially, it's a screw in a pipe, and if you imagine that turning, how it would just pull water up.
Does
that kind of make sense?
So it's like a manual pump.
It's pretty wild. I love Archimedes screws. Seeing them in action.
Absolutely wild, because whenever I look at one, I can't think of how it would actually work. My brain can't quite get it, but it does.
Yeah. I do like the name of that guy as well. Strabo. Like the little sweeties. Strobs. Me, Strabo.
So, Philo of Byzantium, the one that was around between 4th and 5th century AD, not to be confused with the other Philo, because there was another Philo around at a different time. He had the same theory as for the watering, mentioning, an Archimedes screw, essentially. And also, he praised the engineering and ingenuity of the building. It's vast areas of tremendous mass far above the natural grade of the surrounding area, as well as the, essentially fascinating irrigation method. So, little break now, giving you some information. What are you thinking, folks?
It's the right, so I always just assumed, well, obviously they'd have some irrigation or aqueducts or something like that. You're saying this is before any of that was invented? This apparently existed?
Well, I don't know if it's as far back as that. I don't know what the technologies were at the time, but they're nowhere near as advanced as they are today. And if you think about the fact that this was drawing... I mean, I'll go into it a bit more later, but think about the fact that this was drawing water upwards multiple layers.
Yeah.
So it's like they will have had a level of water, of plumbing technology, but to force water up layers is pretty difficult.
I guess
especially up a great height.
It's different. It's difficult to work out how impressive it might be because we don't know where it was.
Well, I guess when you think about the fact that we have all these resources for manufacture and they didn't.
Yeah.
If we need water, I still think it's a marvel.
If we need water, we just stick some pipes in there.
I mean, you can get somebody to build a really big fancy building, but the fact that it was a garden as well, so you've got to have somebody in there to go, right, well, we need enough water to water these plants and all that.
Well, they've got to build an exact irrigation system so that the whole ecology of it doesn't fail.
I guess it seems crazy. How did they design it? Had they done things similar to this in the past, or was this just out of nowhere, they just do a revolutionary thing.
Well, here's what we know. But before I mention that, Oscar, did you have anything to add? Sorry.
I have a theory on what happened to it. I think the king, whoever built it for his wife, they had a bad, nasty breakup. I think, it's gone. Right, I want to get rid of everything that reminds me of that queen. Get rid of the garden. Nobody's allowed to talk about it or describe it. And that would explain why we don't see it today.
I kind of like that. That explanation.
I'm putting that out there.
Yeah, I think it's a good theory.
My current theory, and nobody can prove me wrong, but I'd like to hear more about the mystery gardens.
Well, here's what we know. So there's no contemporaneous Babylonian sources. So there's none from at the time when it was around, as such. No, there's no real historical mention of Amytis, the wife, but a political marriage wouldn't have been that unusual, to be in all fairness. There's a lot of records of Nebuchadnezzar's works, but no mention of a garden. So he makes several records of, or other people make several records of what he's done and what he's not done, but the fact that it doesn't mention a garden and it's meant to be such a big feat would seem very odd to me. It's like, this is, it's part of his, marvel and stuff like that, and I'm like, so why wouldn't there be a mention of it? So I found that quite odd, personally. Herodotus, who describes Babylon in his histories, the founding word of history in Western literature.
I know that boy, Herodotus.
And doesn't mention a garden. But it may have been that they weren't well known when the Greeks visited at that time. So, that's a potential. To date, we don't have any archaeological evidence, but evidence could be present beneath the Euphrates, but this cannot be safely excavated at the time. But the river used to flow east of its current position during Nebuchadnezzar's reign. And then Rollinger, a modern historian, suggested that Berosus attributed the gardens to Nebuchadnezzar for political reasons, adopting the legend from elsewhere. So maybe it's like, historical propaganda of some sort. That bit's me speculating. They did it to make him sound good.
Okay.
They attributed it to him to make him sound bigger or better or whatever.
So, point at the Great Pyramid and go, see that? All me.
So, there's three main theories as to the gardens, it seems. Number one, straight up, were not real. Myth, nothing more than descriptions, simply being, embellishments on the idea of an Eastern garden. Like, it's just either not real or, massively embellished. A falsehood is the sort of theory number one. Theory number two. They existed in Babylon, but were completely destroyed somewhere around the 1st century AD.
See, I like that one, because what destroyed them?
Yeah.
Mystery.
Or three, which is my personal favourite, and personally I feel the most compelling argument. What if someone else built them? And this is where, the other name I mentioned at the start of the segment, which was the Hanging Gardens of Nineveh. So, Nineveh was an ancient Assyrian city in Upper Mesopotamia, which today would be roughly the outskirts of a city named Mosul in northern Iraq.
Okay.
The proposal, the Assyrian king, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, Sennacherib, who reigned between 704 and 681 BC, was actually put for. This was a proposal put forward by Stephanie Daly, who was a well-established scholar who's been researching the topic of the gardens for probably the best part of 2 decades. And, with all that knowledge, makes some pretty good arguments. And the theory is that the two sites, Nineveh and Babylon, became confused because excavations have found vast aqueduct systems attributed to Sennacherib, because of inscriptions on it that are still around. Daly suggests an 8-kilometre or 50-mile series of canals, dams and aqueducts utilising water-raising screws. Does that sound familiar? The Archimedes screw that we mentioned earlier. After recent developments and analysis of contemporary Akkadian, an extinct East Semitic language, Daly makes some really good points. So, Babylon meant gate of the gods and was applied to several Mesopotamian cities. Sennacherib renamed the city gates after the gods, implying he wanted the place to be considered a Babylon.
A gate.
So, only Josephus mentions Nebuchadnezzar. Despite his many inscriptions, Nebuchadnezzar never mentions a garden. Siculus and Rufus specify Syrian king Sennacherib left descriptions, and there is archaeological evidence of his engineering in his grandson's palace, which has like a sculpted wall panel. And that's like, so you could kind of very much see that there is some evidence towards, Sennacherib having a garden and it matching certain descriptions.
Right.
Sennacherib called his palace and garden a wonder for all people, which was describing the making and the operation of the irrigation system, so the Archimedes screws. On his way to fight the Persians at Guatemala, Alexander the Great likely saw the aqueduct as he passed and inquired into the system of technologies that made it work, which likely started the story of the Hanging Gardens. The scholars who were with him, who would have been able to study this sort of stuff, probably did make accounts, but they haven't survived to the modern day.
Okay.
So it's kind of a big historical confusion, perhaps, is this argument, basically. It's the thought that instead of it being one like Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon making this amazing marvel garden, it's actually Sennacherib in Nineveh, which is in a different place.
Okay.
It just got misascribed to another ruler, which then meant it got misdescribed in where it was.
It almost became a bit of a street legend.
Yeah.
Oh, haven't you heard out in the east there is a beautiful garden? Nobody knows who built it, and just like weird quirks come up when it's just not any actual information.
Well, King Sennacherib's garden was well known not just for beauty, and I quote, "It was a year-round oasis of lush green and in dusty summer, so all year round, beautiful place."
Ooh.
Also, but it was also a marvelous feat of water engineering that maintained the garden, and it was actually a tradition for Assyrian royals to, make nice, big, elaborate gardens. When they excavated parts of Sennacherib's palace in the 19th century, his citadel plan shows contours that would be consistent with the garden. But this isn't confirmed, and in recent times, the area is sadly being used as a military base, so can't really find out more about that. The inscriptions mention an automatic sluice gate, an enormous aqueduct crossing the valley at Jerwan, made of over 2 million dressed stones, utilising stone arches and waterproof cement. On it is written, Sennacherib, King of the World, King of Assyria. Over a great distance, I had a watercourse directed to the environs of Nineveh. Joining together the waters over steep-sided valleys, I spanned an aqueduct of white limestone blocks. I made the waters flow over it. So we've got records of this guy, making these big waterways.
Pretty compelling.
It's pretty, makes sense. Oh, and our boy Diodorus, remember him? Well, he wrote that way back when on the walls of Babylon that they were adorned with depictions of Queen Semiramis on horseback in the act of hurling a javelin at a leopard, and nearby her husband Ninus in the act of thrusting his spear into a lion. Nothing like this was found in Babylon, but it's a real close match for some of the reliefs on the walls of the northern palace in, you guessed it, Nineveh.
It's getting plausibler and plausibler.
So I have a closing thought, and I would like to hear yours in a moment. So I was thinking it just seems highly likely that Sennacherib built the Hanging Gardens at Nineveh. They were real. They were falsely attributed to Nebuchadnezzar II for whatever reason, and as such, their location was kind of lost. But until we've sort of figured out that it was likely Sennacherib's garden, and we've got kind of like, oh well, it looks like it went here kind of stuff going on. Hopefully, in the future, we can excavate the area more and find out, because I know I'd like to stand where something so truly awesome would have been and, I don't know, picture it.
Yeah. There's all kinds of technologies that they might invent for archaeology, stuff like that. Maybe we will find evidence in the future.
You got any thoughts, Oscar?
The truth is definitely out there. I think with something like that's in history this big, I think there's no way it's not real. I think with a lot of different people talking about it, it had to have existed. But I think we're definitely on the right route, thinking that it's just everyone had a misconception. Maybe it was just mutating rumours.
I think it's very easily to discount the validity of something when, you've got the wrong person in mind, so you can't really find evidence for it. Like, that's the thing. It's like people would dispute the validity, saying, well, were they really there? We've got no evidence, And then it's like, well, they may not have been there in the way we thought they were, but I do think there was an ancient wonder that was the Hanging Gardens of Nineveh that someone at some point in time misconstrued as being actually Babylon, because it may have been called Babylon for a while, or at least one of its gates were called Babylon, and you can kind of see how it kind of got out of hand.
It makes sense. I mean, it's probably not a complete fabrication, perhaps a little bit of a twisting of the truth.
All right. So, unless anyone's got anything else to add, I'll shimmy us on to our next segment.
No?
Which is stuff that we like.
Oh boy.
If you haven't heard this segment before, it's because it's relatively new. I need to take this bit out. It's really not new anymore, but Basically, we talk about something we've enjoyed between recording.
You want us to go first?
I guess I will jump in. So,
yeah.
I did have a totally written out thing, as always, in my script of what to say, and, normally I can just read that and it's fine, but I wanted to change mine, because I'm indecisive. And you know what? I'm mentioning you two again, because you're consistently keeping me sane and making sure I have a lovely time, and I would like to thank you both once again.
Hello.
You truly are my anchors in this troubling time. Thank you to the pair of you.
Well, I'd like to say that the same, I'm rubber and you're glue, so your sentiment bounces off me and sticks back to you because you're pretty great.
Oh, bitch.
Yeah, same.
All right, who's next?
I'll slide on in.
Oh.
Slide right into the DMs.
I'm really enjoying at the moment my Nintendo Switch, because when the weather is hot, I can move from the sunny spot in the garden to a nice shaded tree and continue to play my videos game.
Oh, that sounds nice, actually.
It's I think a portion of, like, when I think back to my childhood and having a Game Boy, and there were some issues with the Game Boy, especially with the first one where it didn't have much of a backlight, so, you sort of had to, if you were driving in the car on the way home, couldn't turn the light on in the car, that's not allowed, so you sort of have to really, find the right angle and hope that the moon's in the perfect position for the gaming to commence. And then obviously they made the Game Boy, which the Game Boy Color and Advanced, and all these next things that sort of advanced gameplay on the portable scale. But what I think the Switch has achieved that none of these others have is it's just got these big games that other consoles you have to sit down and play. Things like Skyrim, LA Noire. Those are the only two coming to my mind right now, but there is a couple more.
Doom.
And the fact that I can take this big, chunky game and just go outside.
Yeah. I like, you can dock it and have multiplayer, and then you just slide it up. Someone goes, I want to watch TV, and you go, not a problem. And then off you go.
Have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah. Good stuff.
And how about you, Amber?
I've been enjoying, because we started watching it recently, the X-Files. Wow.
Ooh.
See, I remember seeing some of these episodes when I was a kid, and they always really freaked me out, because that's what the show's about, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember seeing the movie, and it's been nice to revisit them and really get stuck in, because it's got that nice blend of mystery, sci-fi, and, sort of horror and tension and stuff like that. It's really the perfect show to enjoy as a dessert after listening to the Phenomenauts Podcast. X-Files. I want to believe.
Yeah, I can't believe I'd never seen that show.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's all from us this week, folks. Thank you for tuning in. If you've got any topic suggestions or feedback or, comments or anything, do feel free to email or, drop a comment on YouTube. The email address is phenomenautspodcast@gmail.com. We can even give you a shout out if you want. We do shout outs. So yeah, peace out, folks, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.